Good morning, everybody. So I shall be trying to present very briefly the way we are teaching digital archaeology at the University of Tours, where we actually use the word archaeomatic. I'll come back to that very soon. First of all, perhaps I should make clear that in Tours University, unlike most French universities, archaeology is connected with history. So we belong to a department of history and archaeology in which students can follow in the first 2 years only 2 classes of archaeology, and then they can choose to read only archaeology only in the 3rd year. But for the moment, I shall mainly insist on the master degree. But so just perhaps it's useful to be aware that they will have read only archaeology only in their 3rd year. So we've been teaching archaeology in Tours since 1988. As everywhere else, I suppose the main 2 bases of our teaching is fieldwork and methodology. We insist on having a very close relationship between the training and the research unit to which all the archaeologists belong at Tours University, which is Laboratoire Archéologie et Territoire, which was created in the early 90s, in fact, a few years after the beginning of the course. Our professional targets are preventive archaeology and research, and there is always a very close connection between the 2. Last September, our course took a very important turn because we changed the structure in which the course is organized. We joined a new master degree, which is called within une école supérieure en intelligence des patrimoines. In fact, this structure puts together 2 different master degrees, one entitled Histoire, Civilisation, Patrimoine, so history, civilization, and heritage, and the other one entitled Digital Humanities. And so the first master corresponds to the blocks in sort of yellow. So 4 different courses are offered to students. Either firstly a course in heritage, Renaissance studies, food studies, and our master archaeology and digital archaeology. So which I'm going to talk more about now. And for digital humanities, there are 2 different courses. So this new structure, which started to operate only last September, would like to evolve and to be able to offer next year or soon afterwards Post-Master formation, so that students may improve some aspect of their knowledge in the field of heritage altogether. So our main purpose is to train students to practice archaeology and to make them familiar with our current issues. That's why it's so important to associate teaching and research, so that we can teach them what we've been experiencing in our own research. So we understand the word archaeomatic as a sort of synonym of archaeological information science, the way Marcos Llobera used it. So the general structure of the master degree is based on 3 main blocks of teaching. There is a common core, which deals mainly with digital humanities in a general way, thematic teaching, and digital archaeology. The thematic teaching itself is divided into 2 modules, and they are followed both by students in their 1st and 2nd year. And so there are 2 main modules, and you can see the way they are divided into 3 courses each. So I won't read the details, that you can see by yourself. The Archaeomatic section is based on 4 modules, and again you can see the different aspects which are taught, which are very, of course, similar to what we've just seen in other universities. So altogether it's quite a large number of hours, and including GIS, databases, different ways of architectural surveys, statistics, and of course there is a good progression between the first semester and the last semester. So for these courses, obviously, students are divided between first and second year because they can't follow the same course at the same time. And as for the future of our students, which is something quite important for us, like for everybody, I suppose, of course, some of them, a very limited number of them, will go on doing a PhD in archaeology. So they can join our research team. They apply for a grant, and if they get it, they can join the research team to do a PhD in archaeology. And we offer subjects, of course, which include digital archaeology. But some of them, most of them, in fact, leave university after getting their master degree, and they try to join preventive archaeology. And I say they try because at the moment, in the last 10 years or so, since 2008 financial crisis, the situation has been much worse than before, and so it's not so easy for them now to get a permanent job. And oftentimes, most of them, they have to accumulate a large number of short-term contracts before they can actually get a proper job, either in INRAP, which is the National Institution of Preventive Archaeology, or in local or regional archaeological units, or now, of course, in private companies, which are developing. We are hoping that the fact that our master degree in digital archaeology has joined this larger structure will give our students more opportunities to work in other fields which are more connected with heritage questions, historical or actual heritage, like some of them are very much interested in 3D reconstruction, for instance, and as you know, there is a large need for that kind of skills. And so some of them now should get jobs in that direction rather than working as field archaeologists. And finally, what are our main difficulties? We try to think about it with Xavier, and we think one difficulty, the first one, is the fact that our students have a very different academic background when they join our master degree, because some have done their third year in Tours, some haven't, and that makes a big difference. Because in Tours University is probably one of the very few universities in France where students can be are taught in digital archaeology as early as their third year. So there is a large diversity of disciplinary origin of students. Some of them have read history or art history, so they have different backgrounds. And we suffer also from the fact that there are, in fact, too many universities offering similar courses or master degree in archaeology altogether, which means that the number of students is dispersed in too many different places. And so we would like very much to be able to develop more strongly European cooperation to enlarge our perspective so that we could offer into things which can't be offered everywhere. And that would involve, for instance, being able to send our master students to spend a semester abroad in a more systematic way. At the moment, some of them do it within the Erasmus program, but that's a limited number of them who do it. And we would very much like to develop stronger links with some of your universities to make a network through Europe, and I think that we will discuss that more deeply this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Another long-lasting program, very successful program. I think our discussion is going to be very interesting. The next speaker is also session chair Arianna Raviglia, teaching digital archaeology in Italy, still utopia or already reality.
If you want to, you don't have to.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm afraid I will not be able to report such good examples as the ones that have preceded me. My topic is a little bit different. I'm not bringing in the experience of my own university, but I have been looking at the situation in Italy. And I have tried to do an overview of the teaching of digital archaeology in Italy, and it was not very easy in some cases because I must report that the websites of the Italian university very often are not very useful in finding out information, and I see some Italian colleagues here that are nodding and are approving what I'm saying. So it is quite complicated, and as you might have noticed when Till at the beginning was showing a map of all the results of the survey, you might have noticed that Italy was one of the how do you call them, Southern European countries that did not really reply. And we have several departments of archaeology in Italy, but apparently none of them provided answers for this survey, including mine. So it is a little bit difficult to give a complete overview just because I'm missing some data. So I've not been able to put together graphs as the ones that we have seen in the introductory speeches. So what I would like also to report, and this comes also to the previous presentation, is that some countries like Italy or France or Greece that have a very traditional curricula in terms of teaching archaeology have been struggling really a lot in the past years to bring to a new level, to make a more modern, let's say, the archaeological curriculum. And this effort has been particularly hard in Italy because we are not really into, let's call it, modern archaeology in a sense. What I want to say is that we have a very traditional type of curricula. And in Italy, it's much easier that you get out of a program in archaeology knowing how to read, coins, Greek coins. You're able to translate Greek without a dictionary, but you very likely have not done one single course on theory of archaeology. So the type of students that we have coming out of an undergraduate degree, and this is not always the same, of course, because we have several departments and several universities, and each of them is different. But the general trend is that our students have the same sort of knowledge when they get out of a bachelor degree, the same kind of knowledge that their parents had, for example, 20, 30 years before. So there is this big struggle in this moment where we are trying to change a little bit our curricula because younger generation of researchers are seeing the difficulties that our students have, like coming into conferences like computer applications in archaeology, because they don't have the skills, the same skills that other students in Europe are being given. And we have also a structural problem in the sense that our bachelor degrees and the master degrees are really strictly regulated by the government. So to start any new course in Italy requires, first of all, a really lengthy internal approval path, which is also followed by approval from our ministry. And to activate an entire bachelor program, like the examples that we have seen before from Leiden, it's even much harder because it's almost impossible. Basically, the archaeologists or the teachers in general, professors, just surrender and don't even try to do it because it's so lengthy, so long, you need so many documents that most of the people would stop even before. We have a little bit more flexibility within master degrees that we call specialist degrees. And I'll tell you something about this later. We have more freedom, more flexibility, so it's easier actually to have this type of courses in digital archaeology, for example, at a later stage. But you don't have it very often at bachelor stage and just because it's very hard to be able to activate this kind of courses. So what we are seeing that these new technologies are really profoundly changing the way professionals and academics approach archaeological work. But this change in Italy is absolutely not reflecting most of the time in the teaching practices. And it has also very, very minimal influences in the university curricula. And as I said, there are a few virtuous examples of courses that exist of universities that are really trying to push toward bringing in digital archaeology in their course, in their curricula, but these are really a minority. And from one side, as I said, this depends a lot from the bureaucratic difficulties that are encountered in Italy when you try to change the state standardized curricula. But from the other side, it's important also to state that there is a certain resistance, I'm afraid, in including this type of topics within a traditional curricula from a certain type of academia, and where we have, let's say, older colleagues that are a little bit scared of digital technologies because they don't handle them, they don't know them, they don't know what to do with them, and in this for this reason they very often try to basically ban them or limit them as much as possible. And so very often you don't have any course at all. You just are able to activate labs, or you can invite the guests and have seminars and have labs, but it's much harder to have a complete course where the students can learn really something that can be then used for their own research. So the outcome is that we have the skills and the competencies of the Italian students are very different depending from where they have studied. So if they studied in one type of in one university, will come out with certain skills. If they study in a more traditional one, they will not have at all these type of skills. And so this makes also a big difference between the students that are able to be absorbed by the job market and the ones that are not, because the job market, when we speak about professional archaeology, we can see that the market is eager and more eager to hire people that are computer skilled. Generally speaking, it's mainly GIS related skills because most of them work, professional work, archaeologists work in supporting infrastructure creations. So they do preventive archaeology and they check landscape or areas where there is going to be some sort of construction. So the GIS skill are the most requested one. But I can see from my own personal experience, I had many students coming back to me years after telling me I got that job just because there were better candidates, but I knew how to do GIS. So this creates really a big difference between the student, and that also compels some students that are interested or are more focused on these kind of topics to move to other university in order to get the skills that the university where he is or she is in is not able to provide. The alternative, because of this lack in most cases of digital archaeology courses, the alternatives are often expensive postgraduate level intensive courses or programs, or even worse, they are like private courses that ask for a lot of money, provide very basic skills and no theory whatsoever, because they are normally not organized or just in part organized by academics. So the theoretical part is completely missing, and they get skills like how to scan in 3D a cup or how to use the main tools in ArcGIS. So these kind of tools do not provide what is like the theoretical framework within which an archaeologist should be working, but just the skills that are needed to make a GIS work, basically. Coming to academia and what academia offers, I was very pleased to see the Leiden example where the students are actually able to choose between many courses. We don't have that. We have either 0 or 1 course in digital archaeology normally. And again, there are few cases where there is a little bit more choice, but the majority of the university offering something that is related to digital archaeology will have 1 course at best. And there are no minors or secondary sort of path that as a student can take in order to improve this skill. So the skill, the type of offer is limited to one course. And the best case scenario, this single course cover broadly the field of digital archaeology, and it's sometimes integrated with some labs. Sometimes these labs are very active, so they provide systematically activities so that the students can they might not be having an entire course, but they can be involved in the activities of labs and learn on the job basically, or they are very active in organizing workshop and calling colleagues from other countries, for example, that can bring in their own experience. Most of the time, digital archaeology comes at, as I said, at the master level, so we are really limited in that. So students that are at bachelor level don't get these type of skills. Sometimes they are not even full courses. They are what we call aggregated, they are aggregated credits. So basically you have to take 2 labs in order to get the credit that would be equivalent to one of another course. And these courses are also very often appearing and disappearing from the overall program because, for a number of years they might be deactivated and then reactivated. So there is no continuity. The survey I did was related mainly to specific courses, the ones that are within a specific program, not these labs. There are a little bit more than the ones I have listed here. These are just 4 that I have used as an example. So we have courses that vary as also in the situation of Leiden. We'll see, of course, the courses are very much depending on the type of expertise of the lecturer. So we have the University of Pisa, and we have here Gabriele, that is a representative, where the course is related to his own skills. So as far as I was able to get from the website, they are more based on life cycle and methodological approaches to archaeological data production, management, and dissemination. While, for example, in the same region, University of Siena is more oriented to photogrammetry, remote sensing, geophysics, and that comes, of course, from the skills of the lecturer. In South Italy, we have more courses related to 3D applications. In my own university in Venice, we have 2 split labs, one more oriented on photogrammetry and technical survey, and more on landscape studies, depending, again, from who is teaching. So these courses, again, are not part of stable curricula, so sometimes they run, sometimes they don't. The outcomes are, unfortunately, a big fragmentation in the kind of education that the student in Italy can get in terms of digital archaeology. There is a very limited access for students in learning something in the domain of digital archaeology, with a consequent migration from one university to the other, going to university that can offer better programs. And very often students or ex-students have to invest their own money, personal money, in going into specialized courses or postgrad certification, where they learn normally very technical skills, specifically for one type of digital archaeology, like 3D printing and or drones. It's this moment very popular. And I finish with that. So just one word. So if the initial question was if it's a reality of utopia, I'm afraid that for Italy, I still have to report that we are still on the utopia side. But we hope that in the next years, also with the help of other colleagues working in digital archaeology, we can create a little bit of critical mass that can push the ministry also to change the curriculum and help us to integrate more our courses with digital archaeology. Thank you.